Sahajanand Swami Maharajani Jai. Vachnamrut number 106. Karyani's 10th Vachnamrut. God talks about Tapascharya and Tyaag. Tapascharya meaning austerities, asceticism. Spiritual practices done with a stern and severe attitude. Practices of penance, fasting, yoga, meditation. Practices that inculcate self-discipline in us, a sense of moderation in us. Practices of Navda Bhakti, Shravanam, listening to the discourses of God, Kirtanam, singing the praises of God, Smaranam, remembering God, having a connection with Him that is uninterrupted, Seva, serving God and doing the duties, taking up the responsibilities that help the purpose for which God sent us here, Archanam, worshipping God, Vandanam, bowing down without any ego to God and God's disciples, Dasyam, Sankyam, Atmanivedanam, being in loving service of God all the time, living as a friend of God and offering our entire being to God. These are all spiritual practices that God wants us to follow so that we live a simple, plain life with least amount of wants, avoiding all forms of indulgences in physical and psychological desires that bondage us. All this is done to attain a higher spiritual state, to remind ourselves that as a spirit, we are never affected by any of the states of dualities, Sukh Dukh, Tar Tadko, whether we are in extreme heat or severe cold. All that is happening to the Deha, to the Indriyas, but not to us. Han Vruddhi, all faidas and nuksans, losses and gains, highs and lows are all happening to the Deha, to this body, to the ego, to the Indriyas, but nothing can touch the state of being of the Atma. This can only be proven through Tyaag, sacrificing and renunciating all these objects of desires, making our existence independent of the presence or absence of any of these wants or desires. જાણીને દેહ ઇન્દ્રિયોનું દમન કરવું, he says. With choice, proactively, we must constantly practice these kind of renunciations. And we must live with an attitude that Harini Ichha is maru prarabdha. If by God's will, આપણે જો શરીરમાં જે કાંઈ સુખ દુઃખ વર્તતું હશે તે તો શ્રી નરનારાયણની ઈચ્છાએ કરીને વર્તતું હશે. માટે જે વિવેકી સાધુ હોય તેને તો જાણીને દેહ ઇન્દ્રિયોને કષ્ટ થાય એમ વર્તવું, અને ઈશ્વરની ઈચ્છાએ જે કાંઈ કષ્ટ આવે તેને સિદ્ધ ટાળવાને ઈચ્છે. મારે તો ભોગ સુખ નથી જોઈતા, મારે તો હમણાં છત્તે દેહે જ તપ કરીને ભગવાનને રાજી કરવા છે. તપ એન્ડ ત્યાગનો મનમાં ઈશક જોઈએ. એન્ડ વેન ગોપાળાનંદ સ્વામી આસ્ક્ડ, જ્યારે ત્યાગનો ને તપનો મનમાં ઈશક તો હોય અને ત્યાગને તપ કરતા વચમાં કાંઈ વિઘ્ન આવી જાય તેનું કેમ કરવું? What about the obstacles, limitations that we face when we try to practice Tyaag and Tapascharya? Shriji Maharaj says, જેણે જે વાતનો ઈશક હોય તે વચમાં હજારો અંતરાય આવે તો પણ તે અંતરાયનો રોક્યો રોકાય જ નહીં, ત્યારે તેનો સાચો ઈશક જાણવો. Do you truly love spiritual practices, spirituality? If we truly love it, will we need reminders for these practices? Will we find fasting difficult? Will we find these forms of bhakti, of smaranam, kirtanam, all these difficult? Will we need constant motivations and pushes to spend more time, invest more time in our spiritual progress? Will we have temptations to materialistic pleasures? If we truly love God, do we truly believe that the source of all happiness is the Paramatma residing within the Atma? Do we truly believe that whatever happens to the Deha and Indriya is not happening to us? If our love for God is true, if our love for a spiritual life is true, if this Ishaq is sacho, he says, Antaray apanne rokya roki nahi sake. Whether it is pramad, whether it is alas, whether it is busyness, whether it is distractions, whatever is trying to deceive us from our spiritual practices, whatever is not allowing the growth in our spiritual practices, am I having a better quality of spiritual practice than yesterday? Am I having a better quantity of spiritual practice than yesterday? If yes, then I'm on the right path and my Ishaq is sacho. But if no, if I'm facing stagnancy, if I'm facing deterioration, if I'm facing diminishing marginal utility, if I still need this and that, if I need inner joy and material pleasures, both to keep my state of bliss maintained, then my Ishaq is not sacho. ભગવાનને પડ્યા મેલીને પદાર્થને વિષય પ્રીતિ કરે છે તે તો વિષય થઈને ભ્રષ્ટ થઈ જાય છે. If in spite of having the treasure of God, if we are still in need of desires and wants which are materialistic, if we still have dependencies on those things to feel happy, to feel peaceful, then our Atma has become brushed, contaminated. We will still need further purification. માટે વિષયનો ત્યાગ કરીને તપ કરીએ તો ભગવાન રાજી થાય. If we are going to constantly renunciate from these pleasures and prove to God that we need God and God alone, then and then only will we attain liberation. ભગવાનને કરતા હરતા માનવું. ભગવાન કરતા હરતા છે, તેનું જ કર્યું સર્વે થાય છે. કાળ કર્મને માયાનું થાતું નથી. કાળ કર્મને માયા એ સર્વે ભગવાનનું કહ્યું કરે. Time, karmic laws and this illusionary world are all operating on the instructions of God. If this belief is authentically established, then we have overcome the objective of human birth. We won't need more birth-death cycles if we have understood this authentically. But if we still feel that whatever is happening to me, I need to pray to God, God please relieve me from this. If our prayers are for life to happen in ways other than how it is happening, if the outcomes of our efforts are decided by God, is established, we will never pray that God make the outcomes otherwise. If an illness has happened, I will take that as penance. If something is taken away from me, I will take that as a lesson of detachment. If a particular examination is being taken by God in my life, I will feel that God is doing it and it is for my good. If I truly believe that God is the doer in whatever is happening to me, I will never conflict the outcomes. I will never have any issue with how life is unfolding for me. I will never pray otherwise for wanting things to be this way or that way. I will be in complete acceptance of how life is happening to me. I will constantly think what I can do better and how I can be a better soul, how I can improvise my spiritual practices, but I will not look at my circumstances that need to be changed for me to be at peace or for me to experience true happiness, because I believe God is Karta Harta. And if I don't believe God is Karta Harta, and if I feel that destiny is doing something to me, and if I pray to God to change my destiny, then He says I'm a papi, I'm a nastik, I'm a kusangi. ભગવાનને કરતા હરતા ન જાણે એ તો મહાપાપી છે ને નાસ્તિક છે ને ચાંડાળ છે. If God is doing everything, then I want to live the rest of my life as a sevak of God. I can become God alike, but I will still be a sevak of God. He is the Swami, I am the sevak. With this bhav, as a Swami, as a sadhu, as a spiritual seeker, I want to constantly practice tap and tyaag, austerity, asceticism, sacrifice, renunciation. Why do I want to do this? To prove to my Lord that you are enough. I don't need to consume these things to spend my day or to be happy or to feel loved. Your love is enough. We must constantly immerse in prem lakshana bhakti of God. For my happiness and peace, all I need is God. ભગવાનને ભક્તિથી રાજી કરવા. The more and more we express our love to God through the Navda Bhakti, Shravan, Kirtan, Smaran, Seva, Archana, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam and Atma Nivedanam, the more and more we indulge in this bhakti, the more and more God will be pleased that He is now authentically a seeker who just wants to indulge in bhakti with me. Constant uninterrupted connectivity with God, constant expression of gratitude to God, constant expression of reciprocation of love to God is all that we need to feel loved. Chatte dehe mokshni sthiti thai javaye. If we are going to behave like this, we are going to feel liberated while we are alive, because we will now be independent of outcomes. We will be free from the bondages and attachments. We will be only and only attached to God, which means we will be detached to all outcomes, to all people, to all relationships, to all those things that I'm indulging in. I'm indulging from a very detached space. Whatever happens as an outcome doesn't affect me. I am only interested in my efforts. And this is such a liberating state of mind that what happens to me will not decide whether I'll be happy or not. I will be happy because I am the spirit who's always happy, and in my spirit resides God, who's the source of all happiness. I will constantly test myself through tap and tyaag that I hope I have not got addicted to this indulgence. I hope I have not got addicted to that indulgence. And I will constantly do deha indriyanu daman. I will renunciate all the indulgences of each indriya. I will make my mind not make me do things. I will have my mind in my control, my antahkaran in my control. And I will want this entire faculty of deha and indriyas to work in the command of my Atma. If my Atma will say you can't indulge, they will not indulge. If my Atma will permit indulging in those things allowed by God without getting bondage to it, they will indulge. But the master will be my soul, and then whatever will happen to me that may take away a few of these indulgences, a few of these dependencies in life, if certain things fall apart, if everything that I have will be taken away, if nothing remains in my life that used to be a source of my happiness, a reason of my happiness, even if everything goes away, withers away, nothing will change for me, because the only dependency I had in life was towards God. I will continue to immerse in bhakti of God in whatever state and test that God puts me through, irrespective of whichever circumstance I am facing right now in life. In every phase, I am going to increase the quality and quantity of my spiritual practices of bhakti, penance, fasting, yoga, meditation, and I am going to simply live in a liberated state of mind this lifetime. That is my promise to myself and God. સહજાનંદ સ્વામી મહારાજની જય.